The fastest way to destroy your entire life is what I call falling in love. But what is falling in love? Let's take a look. Chemically, we produce dopamine and we also produce oxytocin. One of the things that many people don't realize is whenever you fall into love, you're chemically producing chemicals in your system that is making you want and crave to bond with somebody physically. There's many different things that occur when you fall into love. There's a reward because when you fall in love, that means that you get to inherit a lifestyle. If that person has money, if that person has things that you want, the moment you fall in love, this depends on what you're looking for when you get into that relationship with the individual. Everyone is different. It's not always monetary or property or anything like that. But we fall into love for a particular reason. And everybody's different. So we can't categorize everyone as the same. It's not always about money. It's not always about lifestyle. Something else that comes to mind when falling in love is you meet somebody for, let's say, the first time. There's something about that individual that you find very attractive. It's the way that they walk. It's the way that they talk. It's the way that they see you. When everybody else in the world doesn't notice you, this individual notices that the little things that most people don't see. There's indicators of attraction that bring us closer to another individual. As an example, you could be watching a TikTok video and you come and you scroll across the video and there is, let's say it's a woman who speaks very softly. The way that they use their words are very either enticing or very respectful. There's a lot of things that you can understand about an individual by the way that they speak and the way that they hold themselves. Integrity plays a huge part into that. But when we're looking for someone and when somebody's looking to be in a relationship with somebody, the one indicator is love. People are looking for love. And that love that they're looking for, this is you. Because we can't find love within ourselves, we look for love in another person. That becomes an addiction and a dependency. The more something becomes a dependency, now this is where you have a codependency. That's where you cannot operate or function without either of each other or one without the other. And it's very damaging. And a lot of people don't realize that love is a beautiful thing when you find it. But love can destroy your life if you're with the wrong person. There's no manual to teach this. There's nothing you could, it's an experience, but it's also a lot of wisdom behind when you get into these relationships. Your experience is unique and different from everybody else. And your body takes record. It takes record of the people that you've been with. It takes record of the experiences that you had. The moment somebody asks you who was the best person in your relationship with, the first thing that tends to come to mind is your intimate level with an individual because they released the oxytocin, they released the dopamine. Being with them, you felt alive. There may have been other factors in that relationship that may not have been the best aspect of that particular life, but it's almost like an addiction. Just like somebody's addicted to heroin or speed or whatever that might be, that's something somebody's ingesting, but inside chemically, you're a walking laboratory. And the word love it's a mixture of chemicals that are coming together, just like this here is like an infinity symbol, one to represent one and the other. But you have addiction and dependency. Typically with addiction, I hear a lot of things where like the men, when it comes down to being intimate, they're the ones that they lust after the female. They crave, they want. It's in their DNA, going all the way back to tribal. But in order to survive, the woman, the feminine side, they had to procreate with the male so that they could produce a child. So she became dependent of the masculine figure, and he became addicted to the one that was dependent, that needed him. Think about a child. When a child is born, they are dependent of their mother. But the father also plays a role because he implanted the seed into the woman, but she carried that seed, and it became a codependency of a child. Now that child is codependent of their parents. When you have a child, it is a reflection of you. If you had a baby girl, that baby girl is a feminine version of you if you're a male. You are an example to a daughter or a son. And you are both. But depending on whatever you've had as a child, you are a reflection of your children. Your children take after both of you. And we love our kids. At least we should love our children. We should want the best for our kids. The love that we have instinctively, or at least should have for our children, is most of the time, have you ever seen a bear out in the wild? It could have been a father bear or a mother bear. You let someone come and harm any one of their children, instinctively, they will take your life. Or your life may be spared, but there is a survival mechanism to protect its own. The bonding part, bonding in chemistry is when two things come together. They're bonded and they become one. The masculine and the feminine, the male and the female, they bond together. And then they produce a baby. And both mother and father have a part in the creation of their child. That child is dependent upon the two because the two brought them into the world. But the one dangerous thing when you fall in love is the chances of you bringing a baby into the world are more than 50%. Because when you're producing dopamine and oxytocin, depending on that level of dopamine that's being released between the both of you and the level of bonding that you are creating within each other chemically, that will determine the likelihood of a child being born. Because when something is addicting, when something you crave, you desire, you want, you can't get enough of it. At that moment, in order for that particular moment to never go, the next thing is the child. I find it interesting that on one of those pregnancy tests, you have two lines. And that indicates that you're pregnant. The most difficult thing when you bring a child into this world is treating that child as if you were taking care and nurturing and supporting it as a younger self of you. You want that child to have memories and moments that are not about money. They're about experiences. They're about things that you can cherish with them. Memories are unforgettable. And the one thing a child will never forget is how you made them feel. But most people don't know that outside of you, there are chemical reactions that are going off in you that so many people dismiss, they don't consider. And the more dopamine you produce, the more you feel there's a reward from something, you will take risk. With reward comes risk. The bonding with somebody. The closer you bond with someone, if it's somebody that has a very caring heart and there's somebody that truly value you, respect you, it's equal. I don't really believe in 150, this and that. Everything comes down to integrity. You really want to be someone that when it's time, you want to be remembered by somebody that truly did care. You don't want to overflow and give all of you away when you're not getting anything back or you're only getting breadcrumbs. That wouldn't really make too much sense to be with somebody that doesn't really care too much about you. When you're addicted to sex and you become dependent on that particular person, or you become dependent on that person because they fulfill your desires of feeling wanted, feeling seen, feeling heard, and not feeling invisible, you are creating a codependency between each other. Unless you have a pimp, and then I don't even want to say the other part of it, but if you have a pimp, then there's a dependency there. And most of the time, that dependency is money and a lifestyle. However, when it comes down to it, everybody has a choice on the life that they want to live. So if somebody chooses to be somebody that, I guess another word is be prostitute, then you can have a lifestyle and you can have money. But normally what tends to happen is you don't really get the money. You get the lifestyle and you become an asset, a property asset. So you're pretty much selling your body. It's really the opposite of love. And now you're putting yourself at risk. So like a decision tree, love, there's many factors of love. There is reward. What's in it for me? The desire and craving. What am I craving? What am I desiring? And then bonding. Something that doesn't come together in some form or fashion will not stay or stick. That's how it is in chemistry. But in bonding, you have trust. You have to trust somebody to give yourself away. The more you trust somebody, in most cases, the more a person gives themselves away, pouring the cup. Then they become completely dependent. Codependency. The more intimate you are with somebody, the more you are building up, the more bonding you're doing, the more times that you are with somebody because you trust them. You are becoming more codependent on them when they make a decision and you just go along with that decision. And now you find yourself in that relationship at some point where when you want to make a decision, you have to pass that through your partner, or you have to pass that through to your pimp, whoever that person is. But it's a different type of game if it falls under this. But in common society, this kind of seems like what tends to happen. It's just the context is different. I've seen all over social media where, and this isn't every female, this isn't every woman. I've seen women and some female where they will say, women, ladies, I don't know what we're going to do because it's getting hard out here. And it's gotten so hard that we need to find a way to have our lives taken care of. That provider figure, that supporter. And women, the only way we could do this is we got to get married to a man. Because once you get married to that man, 50% of his assets automatically are yours. That's very dangerous, because I could see why now the rate of men wanting to be with women has completely changed, because if a woman is desiring to be taken care of, to be spoiled, technically, that's a codependency. And as I'm thinking on this matter, there was a woman that I came across one day. This was years ago. And she had a pretty nice life, yacht, boat, all these things, because she was with somebody. And one day, I stumbled across this woman. Something was wrong. What's wrong? And she started talking to me, and she was saying, like, I'm getting a divorce and I'm losing everything that I have. I don't know what to do. I don't have any money. If you don't have any money and you were dependent on a male figure to take care of you, and it's not men only, it's women too, it doesn't really matter what your gender is. Whoever is the person footing the finances, whoever's managing the finances, that's the person that has a lot of control over what gets done, what gets approved, what gets denied. And it's a common thing. What's dangerous in love is when you're with one person who they have a very terrible spending habit. They're very impulsive, and they buy things that they don't really need, but they're easily sold to. And what that does is that creates a lot of friction in relationships where you can't pay your bills because a husband or a wife or a boyfriend or a girlfriend or a partner or a significant other, their addiction led them to spend rent money or to spend money they didn't have, or you start noticing there's money that's not in the accounts that you have together. That is a self-discipline issue. And it falls under love, because internally within ourselves, if we love ourselves enough, then who we are as a person will reflect on how we treat others. It will also reflect how we show up and show kindness and love to other people. Love isn't always intimacy. It's not always about jumping into bed with somebody. But it's been the common denominator in a lot of relationships because of that term, falling into love. Why would you want to fall into love? Why can't you express yourself in your most authentic way? That love is more about consistent action. It's who you are. Love is, let me give you some examples of love. You're sitting down inside of McDonald's or somewhere, and you're eating food. And all of a sudden you look out the window and you see a man or a woman or a child who their appearance is they're weak, they look weak, their clothes looks all torn. And at that moment, and immediately you get the thought, they would probably enjoy this more than me. You don't have any issues with your finances, but it was at that moment where you looked at someone else that was lacking in some aspect, and you wanted to do something kind from your heart. Love. Love is associated with the heart. And you get up from the table, and you walk over to that little boy or that little girl or that woman or that man, and you say, here, this is for you. That's love. That's a type of love that has no strings attached. That's the type of love that says, I see you. That's the type of love that shows up when no one else does, but in a kind of way to where you're not losing anything. Now, where does that become a problem? I can hear the questions, thinking about them, where somebody would say, well, if I'm always giving my food away, then what's going to be left for me? No one says you have to give all your food away. But you do have an instinct, and that instinct sometimes in the beginning is not, you want to give to everyone. But when you give to somebody, are you filling a need of approval? Do you want the approval that when you give something to someone, that approval gives you acceptance? Or do you want to belong? So you give things away because you want to belong with a group of friends. Now you want these friends to be like, this person is awesome. We go out, we hang out, and they're always spending money on us. They're always doing stuff. They're always giving us stuff. And here you are giving your life away. And when it comes time, where was the love that you had for you? Because when you love yourself, you never give that piece of you that makes you invisible. When you give a part of yourself away, you are literally sacrificing your identity. So in order to experience love is shared. I have a meal and I'm sharing my meal with you. I'm doing it from my heart. The thought came to mind and I really wanted to bless you with this meal, or I see that this is something that you would benefit right now more than rather me having this. And I'm doing this from the kindness of my heart. Addiction and dependency is the problem that we have in the society today, because addiction and dependency is not only human-based, gender-based, it's also based on the things that we have outside of us, outside of our relationships. That fast car, that 401k, that boat, so many different things we are attached desires, wants, and cravings to, that when you have a substantial amount of too much of anything, that's where the addiction becomes a codependency. So outside of these two individuals, the common things that relationships struggle with today, one is finances. Another is communication. Another one is the lack of intimacy. So these are the three that really come to mind. Another one that could come into mind too is political. That's where you're taking sides, Republican, Democrat, but that's all personal to those particular individuals. There's actually dating apps and sites and functions that I didn't know existed that I recently came across, where if you're not part of a political party, then you don't have any chance of getting to know them. So that's why I included political. The lack of intimacy is an exchange. So the intimacy part, that's where you have the bonding and the reward. Women say, I want to feel loved. I want to feel wanted. I want to feel desired. They want craving. They want all of these. Men, they want to feel seen. They want to feel heard. They want to feel supported. So seen, important. They also want to feel wanted. And you're bonding these two together. Seen, important, wanted, not feeling invisible. Supported was one that I also mentioned. Wanted, desired, craving, a woman. And this is interchangeable. It's not, this is just specifically for men. And no, it's a mixture of these things that come together. And the thing that makes or breaks relationships, This is what keeps them together, the bonding. You can't bond chemical properties. You can't bond things to stay together if there is no trust. Once trust is lost, it's done in most cases. But what keeps a relationship to where it's so hard to let somebody go? When they become intimate with somebody, their wants, desires, and cravings is because of the intimacy. So that's the wrong thing that tends to keep people together. They are codependent. They are addicted to intimacy with a particular individual. Safety. Safety is having someone that you can trust. Trust and safety go hand in hand. But the only way to build trust and safety is consistency. The more something is consistent in action and in behavior, the more it's going to bond properly. It's going to be less about reward, and it's going to be more about trust and safety. Because the more trust and safety you build in somebody, the more love, pure love, can be established with that particular individual or person. But most importantly, out of everything regarding love, is you. When you find love, you find you. If you don't find you, then how can you love someone if you don't love yourself? Just think. You can end up in any relationship you want to, but is every relationship that you have been in worth your time, your effort, your energy? Or did you just give yourself away because you wanted to feel heard? You felt seen. You felt loved. You felt appreciated. You felt desired. You felt wanted. What was it for you? And did it change who you were, or did it make you a better person? That's a question that only you know the answer to.